All right. It's the Down Beach Buzz podcast for November 5, 2024 with Sherry Lilienfeld of eXp Realty. It's also sponsored, the Down Beach Buzz podcast by Rate.com. Used to be called Guaranteed Rate. Paul Scollage will tell you more. Rate.com, buy a home, refinance, rate quote. Reach out to Paul at Rate.com. Or you can just reach out to Sherry. She can hook you up. She's like a concierge of real estate and all that kind of stuff. Sherry, you're back. We're back on the line on this internet thing. I can't believe the web is still a big thing, you know? I had to zoom in on you right away because we're going to go right to the PowerPoint. We know you like PowerPoint slides.
That I do.
There's Paul. And what do we want to talk about today? Let's see here. Go like this and go like this and go like this. All right, here's the stuff we're going to try to accomplish. Let's click the button. And let me go to this first. Amherst Avenue construction, all kinds of stuff. Some of it's quite surprising what's happening in Margate on the bay side. We'll talk about that. We have some drone video. Wait till you see the drone video from a few days ago going up and down Amherst Avenue in Margate. Is Stone Harbor a more transparent shore town than Margate or Ventnor or Brigantine? Wait till you see Stone Harbor's live Zoom videos and how they provide complete transparency to their constituency, to the taxpayers. It's actually mind-boggling how great Stone Harbor is at being transparent with their taxpayers. The WIN conference a few days ago, Governor Phil Murphy was there saying how awesome it was to rip up the streets and hope that these turbines can power the world. And Sherry was there. We got some video of Sherry out front because she ain't going to let Uncle Phil and the pro-wind folks take over her town. Margate, speaking of taking over land, looks like the DEP for the past 20 years, not 20 years, for the past 4 years, have been asking Margate, what's with you building stuff on our beach, especially these Green Acres areas. So Margate has to figure out, should they finally comply with DEP rules, the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection, like don't build stuff and don't sell booze on the beach, especially our beach, the New Jersey beach. All right. Also, maybe did you know this? Ventnor actually, if you were paying a mercantile fee of about $100, maybe 150 or 200 to be a Airbnb entrepreneur in Ventnor, well, those days are gone. Now it's just one flat fee for everybody. That means the little guy, a mom and pop Airbnb, has to pay something like $700 or $750 per license, per annual. I guess that's an annual thing. I'm not sure, but those fees is going to knock a lot of small mom and pops out of the way, and more McMansion party houses on the way in Ventnor. Right, Lance? Right, Tim? Mercury in the drinking water. Sherry, just hold your breath on this one. There's a town in South Jersey. They find mercury in the drinking water, and there's some cover-up. It's in the press of Atlantic City. And Atlantic City, how easy is it for a developer or even somebody who wants to build a house, how easy it is to build. Is it easy to build in Atlantic City? And Margate's home values, that crazy story talking about how these home values in Margate have skyrocketed 300%. Sherry, we'll get down to it. Did I cover enough, Sherry?
I think that's a lot for a quick podcast for today. This was supposed to be a,
I'm sorry. So we'll go through the rest of it faster. How's that sound?
No, it's all good. People
I know.
Love
there
to
is
hear
a lot
what's going on. Yes, there's a lot going on.
There is a lot going on. So let's do the fun stuff first. Let's do a drone flight over Amherst Avenue. That's right away will be a pretty cool thing. So this is from a few days ago. Ron T. Brown, the amazing pilot, the drone pilot. He went up and down Amherst Avenue in Margate just a few days ago. Let me open up and we'll play this bad boy. Let me just click this. And we'll go like this. And Sherry, you can do some narration. Have you seen this version of the video yet?
I have not seen this video. It's funny. Yesterday, I was actually on the street side. I was by Sophia looking at this. It's actually, wow. When you see it from the bay side, it's really big. And you don't, even though it's very domineering on the street, you don't realize how much into the water it's going. So that's a big structure. And a high structure too.
Yeah. Now you saw this from the street level and you go, wow, that's pretty big. And now this is the first time you're seeing the bird's eye view.
Yes. Yes. Crazy. Wow.
And for some reason, there's no parking requirements. We have the whole story up on DownbeachBUZZ.com, and they did waive a lot of stuff, even though, believe it or not, there are some attorneys representing one side or another that are always posting stuff and fighting back. And they said, no, we did all the stuff. They're not telling the truth about this. Listen, this is going to be a great place, but they're not really that transparent in making sure people know exactly what's going to be built. Look at that bad boy. Jeez.
So big. I mean, yeah, it's big from the street, but it's even more domineering like out in the bay. I want to say something about the parking. Even October or November, it's hard to find parking like on a Friday, Saturday night along Amherst Avenue. It's still so busy, so many people, which is great for the businesses. But I can't even imagine what's going to happen in the summer. I know that the mayor was talking about like more bike racks and stuff. We're going to need them because there's no place to park. So people really should be riding their bikes to patronize these restaurants that are there along Amherst Avenue. There's no parking now.
They always say, they always talk about bicycles. I don't see people biking for a dinner and a dance or to go out along the promenade here. But maybe this is. Hey, let me ask you this: how many people in Margate, taxpayers, actually knew what was being built? What's your guess? Were they fully aware of the size of all these development project along Amherst?
No. And you know what the thing is when projects come up, I mean, this is a problem nationwide, zoning. You might get a letter and it says, we're having a meeting. We're hereby notifying you. We want to take lots A, B, C, and D and ask for ask for a variance of. It's always in code. I call it like planning board code. Like people just don't know, even if they're notified, they don't know what they're being notified about. So then it happens. They're like, how did I not know? They're like, well, we notified you with that certified letter. It's such a bunch of BS, in my opinion. They need to talk in languages and have pictures so people know what that letter means. I think the law needs to change, to be perfectly honest.
Let me keep talking. I have a construction guy at the window. Stay right there. I'm going to shut it down. So you keep on explaining what you're saying.
You want me to keep talking? Okay. So anyway, similar situation happened in Atlantic City with notifications and zoning where they let where Atlantic Shores, the offshore wind people wanted to come in, and they're coming in on the beach and ripping up the streets. And they sent letters to people, where we're looking to take block 1, which is the beach block, lots 58, 59, 60. And we want to divert Green Acres diversion, which means they want to unprotect that beach block. So the planning board so they get these letters and no one knew what it meant. So guess what happens? Fast forward to a month or two ago. Now, Atlantic City Council says, yeah, we're all for it. We're all for this offshore wind. It's so great. But then they come in and now all of a sudden all this heavy equipment comes in right at the parking lot, right behind beer gardens, right next to Risk condominiums. And they're digging and they're pounding and all this stuff's going on. Now people are freaking out. Like, what the heck is going on? Like, how did I not know? They're like, well, we notified you. There was that billboard out on the beach that people walked by and didn't know what it was. And they got this letter that they didn't know what it was. Oh, and P.S., the people who supposedly got the letter, there was a certified letter. And if they weren't there, and a lot of homeowners, with beachfront properties aren't there all the time and couldn't sign for it, they never got that letter. So anyway, my whole thing is the whole planning board notification system's broken. And your thing with Amherst Avenue, people are uninformed because they're informed, but they're informed in a language they can't understand. It's just wrong and broken. It needs to be fixed.
And it's a good thing this interweb thing came along, because otherwise, how would we get our information? It's certainly not going to come from City Hall. No. Even the Newark Star Ledger is going out of print business in January. That's maybe the largest daily newspaper in the state of New Jersey. They're going out of business print wise. They'll still do the internet thing or the online thing. I used to work for Advanced Media. I think they were one of my first clients a long time ago. They brought me in to teach them how to sell online video, as weird as that sound. I went up to Jersey City, but small world how that thing changes. And of course, the Press of Atlantic City, they only have 3 days of printed paper, and then they mail the rest the other days out. So less and less transparency. And that is why OPRA, the Open Public Request, Open Public Records Act thing is so important, even though Senator Vince Palestina does not feel that to be, you don't need Oprah, says Vince. Anyway, here's that great video. Wow.
Turbine free. Keep our seat.
It ain't great.
Turbine free. Keep our seat. Turbine free.
Offshore wind is a very, very, very bad idea. It's not going to benefit the environment. Even BOEM, the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management, states in their own report it will have a negligible impact on global warming. It's super duper expensive. We're going to lose lots of jobs. There's lots of industry losing jobs. Our real estate value is going to suffer. And we are subsidizing this green energy. It's not green energy. It's green energy. The only people making money are the developers, and they are from foreign countries. So we are supporting foreign companies to come in our country and destroy our economy.
They're saying, oh, I want to keep these projects going. The money's so green, I got to keep taking it, stealing it from the New Jersey electric ratepayers.
I love that so much.
I love that guy. I love that guy with the microphone. He's so funny. But I have to say, we had some really fabulous protesters, and I could go on for hours about.
Yeah, we don't want to do that because I got such a long laundry list here on the Down Beach Buzz podcast with Sherry Lilienfeld of EXP Realty. So some quickies. Let's do some quickies real fast. A collection of stories. There was 2 guys on a roof. Their ladder touched a high voltage line in Margate. They were electrocuted. They are in tough, sort of bad shape. We don't really know, but they got hurt. And that happened this past Wednesday in Margate. So much construction. Is there enough oversight? Is there enough protection? Even the guy, Jim Galantino, fell from a 2nd floor construction site. And so even a professional like a Jim Galantino, he can get hurt. So building and development's out of control down along the shore. It's a good thing. The downside is, who the hell is inspecting and watching? Very few. So even, and where do you pee? People eat. Listen, I love Roz.
The summer was a disaster to me. A flashing sign on Amherst Avenue that says no public urination is not appropriate anymore. People do 2 things. They eat and they pee. I no longer come to work because I can't take the ridiculousness that I'm faced with every day. Can't find a place to park. Gotta use your bathroom. Finally got here. Found a place to park. Gotta use your bathroom. That is not what the rest of my life is to be about. I don't want the problems of your community. All
right, Roz. That's Roz. And then maybe somebody wants an update. People are still asking Sherry Lilienfeld of EXP. They're asking, what's going on with the Steve Baglivo thingamajig? Where he says he built 6 units, but they're really 12. That's what the plumbing inspector said. There was 12, if I'm not mistaken. Even the Postal Service said, no, there's 12 people. And of course, John Scott Abbott, the esteemed solicitor, he is a smart guy, but he can't count past 6. 6 or 12? What do you think? Here's some public comment from a few weeks ago in Margate. How's this?
Herbostack 108, Adams Avenue. I have a question. What is the final resolution, if any, on the unit at the end of Margate going into Longport that had a zoning permit for 6 units and they wound up with 12? Could you give me an update on the status of that?
Scott, do you have any update on that?
It's in court right now.
It's in court? So the city is still demanding that they remove the other 6 units?
Court right now, and we have outside counsel perhaps going to pursue them in Superior Court as well as municipal court.
But in the meantime, there were 12 units in the place.
He says there's not.
And how many water bills are there? 6 or 12? 6, but there's 12 units.
There's 6 water bills, 6 electric meters.
I think the city needs to push on that. It's a bias treatment or a favorable treatment so far for the.
I get sick just listening to that. So go to DownbeachBUZZ.com and listen further if you'd like. But it's just to hear John Scott Abbott, the solicitor, that you're paying taxes for that guy. He's actually working against you. He's working against you. And why does Margate Mayor Michael Collins, why is he afraid of Zoom? Why is he afraid of being like Stone Harbor? And that's, being fully transparent.
Alexander, 9704 Ventnor Avenue. Back to the Zoom. Where do we stand? What's happening? Anything? I mean, I up in the beginning of the summer. I mean, people have left. People are leaving. It's gone. Do we have a plan? Do you have a plan? Do you have any information?
So no further updates from our last discussion. As I spoke, a couple months back, got the information from Ventnor. We have yet to contract a company to look and give a quote here. On the agenda today is the hiring of a new BA, and I've encouraged all of our department heads to bring up items that we want to discuss once that position is filled, and one of those is your concern. So that's one of them on my list is your concern, and it's going to be something that we address in the upcoming weeks.
He is completely full of it. That's Margate Mayor Michael Collins, just filibustering and talking out of his ass. He's lying.
Can I comment?
Listen, I'm telling you, I don't want to hear anything about, they're working on it. They're lying. You hear me? They're not telling the truth, because when I show you Stone Harbor's, because Stone Harbor is quite similar to Margate in many ways. Why can Stone Harbor provide, transparency? I'm sorry, Sherry. Let me tell you, certain things I know if they be addressed would help everybody so much. It's kind of like, what if you went to City Hall and they kept the lights out or didn't turn on the microphones or they locked the doors? It's the same thing as locking you out online and saying we can't do Zoom. Mayor Collins, as a young guy with a bro hawk and open-toed sandals, which kind of tells you a lot about the guy, he doesn't want to be transparent. He even blocked the email newsletter. He's a no good mayor. He's bad, bad, bad. I'm sorry. You better. Jeez. Go ahead.
Tell us how you really feel. No, just kidding.
Everybody wants to be nice to the guy next door. Hey, that's Michael. These guys are taking you for a ride, but you need some transparency, and maybe I'm too much of a populist, but good. I'm sorry, Sherry. You can. Yeah.
I 100% agree with you about this transparency. Very frustrated myself that there's not more transparency and that people can't participate. Alana, the woman who was speaking, she started this in the beginning of the summer. I was at that meeting and she said, we need to have Zoom. We need to participate on Zoom. And they keep on talking about how somebody basically exposed himself on a meeting, and then they shut it down. But if so many municipalities can do it and they control it, I'm sure Margate could figure it out. Especially Mayor Collins is a very smart man. He's an aeronautical engineer. Like he's smart with technology. But to continue on that, I do kind of feel, because I like to play devil's advocate, I think they're waiting for the new business administrator to deal with it, to handle it, to figure it out. Maybe. That's my only guess. But so I'm trying to give him a little reasonable doubt. Like, why did it get delayed all summer when he made the commitment to her 3 months ago that they would have it figured out by the time people started leaving, for Florida or wherever they're going in the winter? So anyway, those are my 2 cents. And thank you, Lana. She's amazing. She's a pit bull. She emails the mayor always says, you can always email me. She emails him, and she is staying on it, and she's not going to let it go.
That's a lovely picture of Ms. Horn, Mr. Collins, and Mr. Blumberg. Of course, Maury probably should have been the mayor. Maury's position, he gets paid about 25, 30 grand every year to, oversee a certain segment of the government. Maury Blumberg is the commissioner in charge of revenue and finance. My question to you, Sherry Lilienfeld, how much does he truly know about the revenue and finance in Margate?
Well, why are you asking me? I know it's a loaded question.
I know, so I'm just teasing. He doesn't.
How about you answer the question? Why
All right.
you would ask a question like that?
I know the answer. He's kept out of the loop. And okay, he's kept out of the loop, but he needs to publicly share that information with his constituents. Hey guys, I have no idea what's being spent. You would think that Maury would have the greatest amount of information about that gas station idiotic purchase that they're trying to pull down. And John Scott Abbott, an attorney, John Scott Abbott, he's pushing for it the most. He has no background in environmental litigation, does he? He's going up against probably hundreds of Exxon attorneys to try to get that gas station clean. So somebody brought that up, that John Scott Abbott is totally unqualified to go head-to-head with Exxon attorneys. Margate residents. Anyway, so Kathy Horn keeps talking about this thing where somebody exposed himself. Whatever the case may be, you failed, Margate. You have zero security. Somebody can come in and curse on the microphone in public. How are you going to stop that? How about just being honest? Ms. Horn, you realize, Ms. Horn, that Mayor Marty Small, you work for Laquetta Small, and her husband, Marty, just got charged again with trying to manipulate a witness. Did you read that in today's paper? You should check that out. Maybe share information about how 30 kids from Margate go to Atlantic City High School. And Maury Blumberg, all three of these people are very disappointing. All the short towns are disappointing because there's no voters down here. See,
You feel better now?
Not really. I feel worse. But when I listen to this audio where you hear Collins talking, they didn't reach out to Ventnor. Ventnor has a horrible system. It keeps getting worse. I'm telling you. Let's get right to the point.
Can I make just one more comment?
Yes.
And I am happy that more people started showing up at meetings.
Yeah.
And I have to confess, myself, I didn't start showing up to meetings until I got really active in pushing the contractor contaminant ordinance. And then I found it very, very eye-opening. I think when people are around, more people do need to show up to the meetings. All you do is Google it and go on the city website, and you find when the meetings are, where they are. More people need to show up. And that, Zoom is great and it's important, but people should actually also show up when they can, when they're in town. And I think it's very impactful. And the reason they do this is because there's so many. I would go to meetings, there was nobody there. Nobody.
So, but there's a reason for that, I would submit, and that is people don't know what's being discussed because they write these agendas in Egyptian. It's all cryptic. People don't know what is being voted on. But it's true. If you could show up in person, you should do that for sure. But keep in mind,
make an effort.
But keep in mind, 75% of the taxpayers are gone 9 months of the year.
Yes. And that was Lana's point. She came in May and she said, we need Zoom, and people that have condos that are in Florida and other states, they do all their meetings in Zoom. They're doing it down in Florida to the snowbirds who aren't at all the meetings. So everyone can be informed and know what's going on. They send out an agenda, they send out a Zoom link. They're doing it there. We should be doing it here, reverse.
But what happens is people go up, they wait every 2 weeks to get up on public comment, and they try to be respectful and nice, and they request Zoom. They ask for Zoom. Let me give you a little secret. Horn, Collins, and Blumberg are your employees. You are the boss of these numbskulls. And I mean that in a soft, heart-spoken way. These folks are fighting against you. They have an attorney that you're paying for, John Scott Abbott, defending them. Does John Scott Abbott, does he defend all of Margate or just the 3 commissioners? Think about that one. You actually keep on fighting, maybe hiring attorneys to go up against Abbott, who you pay for. How does that happen? So, and why would they not want to have live video? Because they don't want you to see what they're talking about. They don't want you to see. They don't want you to hear and how they squirm. But I'm telling you, Maury Blumberg has to step up. But I realize what it is. He's probably in a compromising position with contracts. But I could be wrong. What do I know? And then you have Collins. When I listen to Collins talk, I'm telling you, you have to tell them to turn Zoom on. Tell them to. because right now, Sherry Lilienfeld of the DownbeachBUZZ podcast, you want to see who does it right? Stone Harbor. Sherry, do you think that Stone Harbor is similar in a lot of ways to Margate? And why is that? Why is that? Why would you say that?
Because it has a lot of seasonal residents, you know, people. It's a highly populated area for second homes. People from the Philadelphia area who come down to Stone Harbor as their second home. What? You talking about money? Okay. What?
Yeah, well, I want you to make sure that you talk about not only the second homeowners, but how much money is in the market.
True, and the real estate values are very high there, and yeah, the homeowners are very sophisticated, educated people. Anyone who could afford to have a second home has a good amount of discretionary money.
So why can Stone Harbor do this? You know, they can afford it, and technologically they can offer these live Zoom meetings. We're looking at the front page here of the mayor and council meetings online page of Stone Harbor, New Jersey. Everything is here. Click here to join the Zoom meeting. Here's the ID. Here's an archive of all the things you may have missed. Down the side, very simple to follow. All the different items they provide, the agendas, the meetings, the recordings, the committees, the ordinances, the bids, the RFPs, the RFQs. Do you ever see, can you ever find on the Margate website or Ventnor's website RFPs and bids and RFQs? Huh? No.
I never looked, but if you say so.
My point is that why is Stone Harbor kicking butt with this? Because it's interesting to follow. So when you say, or if anybody says, nobody really shows up, they don't care, they don't know. Do you think if people along Amherst Avenue really knew about the size and the scope of these projects, whether it's Lamberti's or this new place, Captain Andy's, do you think that they truly knew what was being built and how high elevation and all that? Do you think they would probably step up more? Hell yeah. I'm telling you, I'm the biggest proponent that if there's one thing that you guys can do to better your towns and to make sure those who represent you are not misspending your tax dollars, you have to force full transparency on these officials that are spending your money, and the internet and Zoom provides for that. So let's go take a look at some meetings from Stone Harbor. Look at the quality. I want you to see the quality of the video, and the audio quality is stupendous. This is May of 2022, but I want to get let's go back to May of 22.
Oh, and wow, they had this technology in 2022. Amazing.
Meeting is now called to order. Clerk, please call the roll.
Around the corner, it's hurricane season. NOAA is predicting once again an above.
So not only do they have a crystal clear shot of the public comment, but they have a wide shot. So what's the difference? Why is Stone Harbor doing this? And they get a lot of people that participate. So it's complete BS when people say, nobody's showing up. They're not showing up because they don't know what's being discussed. You're writing in a cryptic language. So let me jump through this a little bit. Look at these close-ups.
With the result of that litigation. So questions, or if Mr. Morris would like to weigh in.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, what Madam Mayor just explained.
So have you ever seen, now first off, would you describe the video of a Margate commissioner meeting? Sure. What do you see during a Margate commissioner meeting on YouTube?
Do we see anything? I haven't even.
No, you see nothing.
You see nothing, right?
It's black.
I know Ventnor does have Zoom and people can participate, but the quality is really.
The audio is horrendous, and there's a reason why they want it bad. They don't want you to be able to follow along because they know guys like me follow along. But some of this stuff you can't understand it. It's all garbled. Listen to the clarity of this audio in Stone Harbor.
Is exactly accurate. And I think one of the kind of overarching concepts that's important to understand when.
Do you think these Stone Harbor commissioners and the mayor, you think they're on their best behavior when they know that people are watching in this detail? What do you think?
That they're on top of their game and they have full transparency. I think that more people, if anyone's watching this podcast, they need to send an email to the commissioners, the mayor, and our new business administrator, and tell them, if you want to know good technology, look at Stone Harbor, call them up and ask them what they use and get it done. Like, because this whole excuse, well, we're evaluating new technologies, we want to get a good system. What we were told in May is that they were waiting for Ventnor. They were going to follow Ventnor's lead. Well, Ventnor hasn't changed anything, so nothing has changed in Margate, right? So maybe people need to say, it can be done. Look at Stone Harbor, call them up and ask them who set it up for them and get it done like Stone Harbor.
I'm telling you, Ventnor is not doing anything. Because I watch all their meetings. They're doing nothing. They're doing nothing.
At least people can participate via
and
Zoom.
And the same thing with Brigantine. They're all connected. They're all bad. Although I got to admit, Ventnor does have good video, but just one angle. And they do provide for remote public comment, which is rare, but so it needs to be identified as a really good thing that Ventnor does. But during public comment, their voices are all muffled because it's a crappy sound system. They won't change it. One more final point.
Yeah, because we need to.
So this is what we're doing. None of the public comment at Margate, Brigantine, or Ventnor ever gets recorded in the meeting minutes. What does that tell you, Cher? Do you think they should be included in the meeting minutes?
100%.
So why doesn't Margate, Ventnor, as well as Brigantine, why don't they do that? Because they don't want that to become a part of the public record. I'm telling you, you cannot trust these folks as far as you can throw them. And here's why. They're not bad people, but they're all on the same team. They all are, they're running unopposed. There's so few voters. Why do they have to pander to you second homeowners, you shoobies, So let's go through this real quick. And I know that we're running behind time, but take a look how they're laying this out. 2024 planning board agendas, meeting minutes, board recordings. It's impossible to figure out where Ventnor and Margate hides this stuff. Let's go to the planning board
Stating
recordings.
that all requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act of 1975 have been met with.
Yeah, the Open Public Records Act. Of course, Senator Vince Palestina was kind of okay with it being gutted in Trenton by Governor Murphy, right, Vince?
Here.
Dr. Clay.
Here.
Mr. Conrad.
Don't need the front setback or any of that, because you're changing it over to residential, because that's what you're building.
And that's what the stopgap ordinance does. It does one additional thing beyond that. It changed the uses from permitted uses to conditional use. You guys had waived some of that, and the outside dining got put up.
With the borough, with all of those complaints.
Oh, they're talking about outside dining.
Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed.
My instinct is, sure, send it to everyone.
Yeah, get it done.
Now, granted, it's not a lot of different camera work here, but it's the planning board. They should be showing diagrams, but that's a wide shot of the planning board meetings. You can see who's speaking and you can hear everything crystal clear.
You can hear
Nobody else does this. I'm telling you, Sheriff, if you and I can pull this off and get every town to adopt the simplicity of what Stone Harbor's doing with Zoom and online video and being totally transparent, it would benefit everything. We'd be able to show people that our leaders are ignoring microplastics. All right, Sher, I know I get a little. Jeez. What do we do?
While we're talking about transparency, how about we talk about your Mercury story now, because it falls in line with government transparency and whose best interest is being looked out for by lack of that transparency.
All right, I got it all set up right here, so I'll set it up. Did you know, Cher, this just came out in the press of Atlantic City over the past day or two. Calls are coming in for prosecution in Upper Township mercury tests. There was a revelation. The test showing extremely high levels of mercury in the drinking water of some homes has led to anger, relief, and more, and raised multiple questions. So far, is one of the biggest is why. I would speculate, says Mayor Jay Newman, Who can tell why people do things? State and local officials say whoever's responsible should face significant punishment, including the potential of criminal charges and potential fines and civil action. At about a dozen homes impacted by the discovery of mercury in wells above the maximum amount considered safe. It looks like somebody may have been goofing around with the results, the paperwork. It says recent tests which the State Department of Environmental Protection have now suggested were tampered with. It showed levels far, far above the amount at thousands of parts per billion. That's why a couple of months ago I was so angry at Atlantic City Water, because for a couple of days it was dirty, contaminated water, and they did a crappy job of informing people. And the head of the MUA, Gary Hill, was nowhere to be found. He said nothing. Listen, you have leadership that sometimes ignores this stuff, Sheriff. So what are your thoughts about this potential criminal prosecution in Upper Township about mercury tests and maybe finagling results?
Well, it wouldn't be the first time that innocent people are harmfully impacted by government or organizations that can profit. I mean, there's so many examples in history. I was surprised the article said only a dozen houses. So I'm thinking, is it just the water supply that's feeding private wells, or was it public water? Was it a public water supply, through a treatment plant?
So let me just finish that one more paragraph. The commissioner of the DEP, Sean LaTourette, indicated that water samples had been adulterated before the tests. He and Gwen Zervas, who leads the DEP Division of Remediation Management, attended the township committee meeting remotely on October 28. LaTourette drew an audible gasp in the room when he said the water samples may have been deliberately adulterated. Jeez.
So this is still kind of vague, even though it's interesting. I mean, obviously not a lot more detail needs to be there. I will say I've personally have my own. So there's a lot that can happen with water supply, even when it's coming from a treatment plant, when it's running through the pipes till it gets to your home. So I happen to be a very big proponent in what's called point of use water filtration, which means even though you have good water quality, like so much can happen from that water treatment plant, you should have a water filtration system in your home if you can afford it. But you should definitely make that investment if you can, because a lot can happen. You would be surprised what my water filters look like when I change them out and the color, even though they're coming from the water treatment plant, because again, they're going through old corroded pipes. They're going great distances. They're treated with chlorine, which you want to remove before you drink it. So there's no excuse for what they did ever. But I do feel I'm just encouraging people to think about getting a point of use water filtration system in your homes to protect yourself, because nobody else is protecting you. Whether you think they are or not, they're not. So anyway, my 2 cents.
Very good. We're very emotional about our pet projects, the stuff that means a lot to us. And I think that's what's good about it. We have
You're emotional about elected officials and transparency, and I'm emotional about the environment and protecting the environment and people protecting themselves. So yes.
And together we make a powerful duo, do we not?
I think we bring people very good information, and we have some nice we get some nice comments from people that they enjoy the information that we share.
So you're definitely a Down Beach celebrity now as a super real estate agent. And yeah, even Seth Grossman talked about you on the radio, saying that your volunteer efforts really did become a thorn in the side of the wind companies that are trying to rip up Atlantic City and do all that kind of stuff. Let's jump ahead because we're almost done. So don't forget, Ventnor is going out to bid again for the 3rd time. Ventnor seems like it can't build a new stage because all their bids come in way too high. And that just tells you how expensive things have gotten. And this is the final story, Cher. Since 2020, since 4 years, almost 5 years, the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection, the DEP, is still asking Margate to kindly remove the beach bar or anything on our land, on our sandy beaches. That's some of it might be Green Acres stuff. So since 2020, the state DEP asking Margate, Mr. Becker, Mr. Abbott, Mr. Collins to stop the non-compliant use of public beaches for retail food, alcohol, and live entertainment. And we love the beach bar here at Venturas. It's pretty awesome. But how can we do that? How can some other places do this? Hey, let's spread the love. Let's have beach bars and beach things everywhere. Let's all join in the enjoy. Let's all get it. And there really is no taxes or business tax or anything. Basically a bunch of fines, and it's business as usual. Says the state saying, Margate, you better remove all illegal structures on the beach. And it looks like Margate's Mayor Collins and his construction official dude, Mr. Galantino, along with Solicitor John Scott Abbott and Attorney Goldstein, they seem to be in no hurry to comply. This was Oprah requested, and this comes, this is the most recent recap of what's going on along the beach that Margate is just ignoring the DEP. That's a pretty good deal to have with the DEP. So this was dated August 27, 2024. And just a quick scroll down, and I will show you that it really does a whole recap from 2020, 2021, 2022, all these fines. It's just go up to downbeachbuzz.com and see exactly how awesome it is to have an in with the state of New Jersey for the past 4 years. And maybe you see John Scott Abbott say, maybe you get some ideas from Senator Vince Palestino on the right. On the left, there's former Commissioner John Amadeo. These guys know what's going on. Look at those good-looking guys. Just love these guys. Because you keep in mind that Mr. Amadeo, he was a little uncomfortable. Now, imagine if we had live Zoom video when John Amadeo, the commissioner in Margate at the time, was called out about this game plan to create a high rise right there at Venturas next to Lucy. And then, of course, that project went away. But that's a story about how important it is transparency is, especially if you have investments in the city of Margate. Right, Vince? Vince, come on. You didn't vote for this gutting. You stayed out of it. Why was that, Vince?
Can I make a comment about like DEP and fines? Yes. So in the 80s, I used to call on chemical plants to try to help them reduce their emissions to comply with the Clean Air Act. And I cannot even begin to tell you how many plant managers would tell me it is cheaper for them to pay the fines than to comply. And unfortunately, you will see this. So unless the punishment, matches the crime, i.e. the fines are high enough to incentivize businesses to comply, you're going to see this. You're going to see them just delay. Oh, I'll just pay the fine. I'll just put it off. More paperwork, blah, blah, blah. I mean, I left the chemical industry because of that. I was so disheartened because they would just literally tell me they rather just pollute and continue to pollute because it was better for their bottom line. Ultimately, they weren't thinking of the consequences to people and the people around. So unfortunately, that's when I see that, that's what I'm thinking. DEP's warning them. They're paying fines. But you know what? They make so much money at that beach bar, I'm sure. I mean, I don't know. I'm only assuming that they'll put it off as long as they can to continue making the money as long as they can.
Yeah, some of those fines are about 40, 50 grand. I don't know how often that is, but it may be twice a year. Whatever the case may be, it's been going on, and it's certainly well worth the cost of, it's a cost of doing business. But why does the state allow it, and why does the city of Margate allow it? First off, I love that place. It's awesome. But why not let everybody else do it? I guess that's the question.
That is another question for sure. Yeah.
And there are some that say, hey, listen, it brings all that extra revenue to the city. No, it doesn't. Because the city makes zero money. There's no business tax in Margate to speak of. And I don't see, first off, it's a good amenity for the city of Margate, for the visitors, but it doesn't help taxpayers at all. And quite frankly, it could hurt home values if you're within earshot of the live bands playing right there at the bottom, right there at the toe of the dune, because there's a high rise right there. You think that could affect your home values a little bit, that you got a pretty fun, raucous bar right outside your window?
And you know, Roz's place, Jamaican Me Crazy, is not that far from there. And I got to tell you, they don't have enough bathrooms there for the patrons. They only have 1 or 2 bathrooms, and it's a lot of people. So maybe they're walking from there and you know, I don't know. I'm just saying that's a whole other issue. Is the whole bathroom situation there is horrible. Anyway.
Well, I guess the moral of the story is it's good to be the king. It's good to have friends in high places. And we have, listen, quite frankly, I can't blame Boca for taking over the street for a couple of years, or Mr. DiVentura taking over the beach, the state beach for a few years. If I was them, I'd probably want to do the same thing. But it really doesn't help anybody else. It doesn't help taxpayers. It's actually just unfair to law-abiding businesses and citizens. And it just shows you that, quite frankly, you can't really trust those in charge, because they're obviously breaking the law. They are non-compliant with city ordinance, or they're sloppy at best. And Mr. Scott Abbott, he really is disappointing. The more I watch and listen to him, he's an amazing guy, but he really is bad for the city of Margate. And so is Mr. Collins. And I wish Mr. Blumberg would just step it up, because people like him. They don't always agree with him, but they like him. They like the guy. But he's neutered. And it's unfortunate, but chances are he's probably financially captured in some way where he can't make a move. What do I know?
Now, then wait a second. You have to remember, though, Scott Abbott was a very big advocate for my microplastics, the contractor containment ordinance. He was a huge advocate. So I'm going to, again, play that devil's advocate. I know you're kind of critical, but he has done some great things for the city, and he is very smart. And, you know, who knows what the reasons are for him to take a certain side in situations. This whole thing with the 6 versus 12 units, they do have outside counsel. I mean, that's why they hired them, because they wanted someone who had experience in going forward with this. And you're not allowed to talk a lot when there's a case in progress. I mean, so there's certain things he can't share. So again, I play the devil's advocate, and I try to highlight the other side.
Even though Mr. Scott Abbott does really good stuff, the other things, the highly questionable things, really overshadows it, unfortunately. It just does. And so you really can't give him a pass, because, yeah, he does good stuff. But at the same time, is Margate enforcing the worksite construction recommendations of keeping clean sites and non-contaminated sites? Are they enforcing that at all?
They are. And a matter of fact, when I get off of this call, I have a work site to call in. When I notify them, they go out right away. They bring their flyers. So in terms of enforcement, it's a resolution. Okay. It's not an ordinance, which is a thorn in my side, because an ordinance is a law that you can fine on. It's a resolution. However, Margate can fine under other ordinances, like trash ordinances or stormwater ordinance. If the stuff is blowing into the streets and getting into the stormwater, they can fine them. And that's what they said. Oh, it's covered under other things. We can give people fines. So they are, quote unquote, enforcing it and going out and educating. And once a contractor's been spoken to, they usually, you know, shape up. But
do you think that the tequila bar workers were spoken to?
they got a phone call. I mean, they were spoken to, because they were cutting some it's almost like you know, like foam, styrofoam kind of stuff that it was all over the place, and it was going in the stormwater. And then the city did go out and talk to them.
So they did respond. So people have to be reminded of their, okay.
So this is a good point. So if anybody sees a construction site that is not well kept, and there's no vacuum attachment, and there's microplastic dust going all over, you're supposed to call the building department. You take pictures, you can email the building department so it's documented, and also call them. And again, you could get that information on the city website. You just Call the building. It's 609-822-1974. Call the building department and tell them they need to go out and have a conversation with the contractor because they're creating a mess.
What was your favorite part of today's podcast on DownbeachBUZZ.com? What was your favorite story that moved you deeply within?
The wind turbines.
That was the story? Really?
No,
Listen,
I like your drones. That was good. I mean, that was very enlightening. Unfortunately, if people had seen something like that, a rendering, and that was sent out to people and they knew that was coming, then they might have come to the meetings. On the flip side, I will say we are, I'm always looking at the other side. We are a shore community, a vacation community, and people look for waterfront dining venues. Okay, so we have Ventura's for the longest time. Then finally, after years, Lamberti's open, which is great. That's what people look for when they come to a shore community for vacationing. So we do need it. It just maybe more planning needed to be in place. People should have been notified who live near there. We need public parking or some kind of transportation. That's a whole other thing. So can't get into that now. But anyway, my 2 cents.
Well, didn't the Press of Atlantic City just have a story? And they said, listen, we took a poll, we asked around. It seems like New Jersey voters don't really care too much about this wind thing. Now, why do you think that is? Because they don't get the newspaper. They don't actually watch corporate media. They unfortunately do watch corporate media that ignores all the downside of wind. So sure, this really plays back to, you got to be really careful who you trust and who you follow in regards to news.
That's true, because anyone could create news, right? And so fact checking is important.
Did you see what they said? New Jersey voters, New Jersey doesn't really care about this wind thing. That headline was, wow, because they don't know about it. People in Atlantic City don't know about what's happening right next to them being dug up for years, and their kids can't play
supposedly
soccer.
got certified letters about what was happening, but they didn't understand or they didn't receive it because they weren't there to sign for it. And then all of a sudden this work starts. Oh, by the way, apparently Atlantic Shores came into their board meeting this past weekend to talk to them about it. And they have the same old rhetoric. Oh, it's clean and we're improving the air quality of the Jersey Shore. I don't know about you, but I don't see any smokestacks around here at the Jersey Shore. Do you? But they're going to improve the air quality at the Jersey Shore and create all these jobs. And their same old bullshit rhetoric. Oh, sorry. Just the same old rhetoric. But the people in the building, so now they're complaining, they're seeing there's vibration going on. And first of all, they shouldn't be digging. By the way, Atlantic Shores didn't pull any permits to do any of that work, but somehow they could get away with it. Nobody's stopping them.
They didn't pull permits.
No, they didn't pull permits for their work. They say they're taking boring samples. That's also BS.
But you still need permission to do that as well, I would assume.
You need permits if you're moving soil, if they're removing the blacktop. You need permits for all that. You're supposed to put a fence around the area. They have done none of that. They get their pass. They have their pass. Okay, now I'm getting fired up. They have their pass. They're doing all that. So they go into the board meeting this weekend to talk about how great this is. And literally, they could not answer their questions. They could not answer the questions of the residents who spent the time to read the Atlantic Shores construction operations plan, but they didn't. It is amazing to me how these Atlantic Shores people don't read their own reports. They have been in city council meetings and we ask them, we know the details because we read the reports. And you know what really angers me? So here I go, Mr. DownbeachBUZZ. They say that we are the ones spreading misinformation. Oh my God, we're spreading misinformation. And our response is misinformation. It's right here on page X and X on your report. Like, this is your information. Read your own reports. So anyway, that's what gets me mad. When you hear that we, the ones against offshore wind, are spreading misinformation, please understand, we've got all our information from their reports. We have spent days and days and days reading it. understanding it. And then we ask them questions and they don't even know their own reports. Wait.
I'm not saying
Wait.
that.
They had an expert, a paid expert at a council meeting, Dr. Bailey, because they said we were spreading misinformation about the EMFs that are going to come out of these cables that are going through the city. Their paid expert, Dr. Bailey, blah, 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 who literally said, oh, I bought a house right near high voltage lines. Really? You're their expert and you bought houses near high voltage lines, but okay. And he's like, it's safe and, you know, the air insulated. He knew nothing about what he was talking about. And Brett Barbin went up to him after the meeting and he asked him if he read the report, if he read the construction operations plan. And he confessed, he goes, actually, I really didn't read it. So how can you be a paid expert to say how something is safe if you don't even know what you're talking about? So anyway, sorry, you got me going.
I love it. Do you know who? Do you have any idea who's in these pictures? I was going to shut the podcast down, but who's here? Go from left to right.
Okay, Governor Murphy, Party Marty,
Marty. So that's the Marty. That's Marty Small, Mayor of Atlantic City, aka Party Marty.
Chris Brown.
And Chris Brown is a former senator that stepped down early. And
by the way, I ran a triathlon with him. He and I ran. It's funny. It was his first, and he came in right after the finish line on me.
Sure, I'm about to make fun of him right now. Here you are talking about his running skills.
Well, you know, everyone has two sides, right?
No, they do. I do, but they do. But
and he has a lovely family, and his kids went to school with my kids. Okay,
he's he's very nice, but he did step down early, and then he took $150,000 job to work for Governor Murphy. So we're disappointed in him as an Atlantic City person, as a Ventnor resident.
Yeah.
Denny Levinson, county executive, doesn't really speak too much about the stuff that we care about. He's kind of like on the fence with all kinds of stuff.
He's
then
very
we have Mr.
wishy-washy. Yes.
Yeah, wishy-washy. He's going to retire soon. He's a good guy, but man, he is the ultimate politician. And then, of course, Mr. Persky, he is a confidant to Mayor Marty Small. And then on the far right here, Johnny Exodopoulos. Johnny X. Yeah. Johnny X from the Ducktown Tavern. He has a podcast up here. It's Dan Klein from WOND Radio. And listen to how, we'll do it really quick. This is about how Atlantic City keeps out development. Atlantic City has no cranes in the sky. Atlantic City, to get a permit, it's bananas. No wonder Atlantic City's failing. The wrong people are giving out the permits. And you talked about how the wind company, you don't need a permit to bore holes right next to the Ritz as they start their project to rip up Atlantic City for wind turbine electricity. Listen to this audio.
Listen, I love Chris Brown to death. He gets paid $150 a year. Tell me one thing he's done.
You are about to enter the Freedom Zone, known as the Klein Time Radio Show.
I'm blessed to have in the studio with me is Johnny X. As you probably know him if you've been to the Ducktown Tavern in Atlantic City.
The values of Longport, Ventnor, Margate went through the roof. They can't keep up with inspections. The supply houses are in and out of this island like madmen.
There are parts of Atlantic City that are great parts. Chelsea Heights, Lower Chelsea, you got Bungalow Park, you got Venice Park, the transformed north end of Atlantic City. So there's no anybody in the state position. Well, you would think somebody would say, look, we got to take some action here. The town's dying.
Listen, I love Chris Brown to death. He gets paid $150 a year. Tell me one thing he's done other than show up for a photo op.
I don't know what he's done. That's my point.
How about Persky?
He may have been doing a lot. I don't know.
No one knows. Find me somebody. Find me someone that can tell me what Chris Brown has done as the quote-unquote czar.
And then Stephen Persky is an advisor to the mayor. He is a guy who's polished. He's well-versed in the ways of government. He was a state senator, for goodness sakes, a longtime judge. For goodness sakes, man.
You say
come on.
All right, ready?
Somebody has to say, look, this isn't working, man.
And that's one person, Phil Murphy. Or, I hate to say it, maybe Denny Levinson.
I'm sorry, Sherry. You got me started.
Okay. Well, I know you like to criticize city officials and
because
they're
not
about my causes. Yeah.
Yeah, but they are affecting your business of real estate.
Yes.
And you have clients that try to get permits and inspections in Atlantic City, and it was not a walk in the park. It's almost like they're trying to keep you from doing anything good.
It's definitely a challenge.
And I'm telling you, Chris Brown, everybody loves Chris Brown, but he's quiet all the time. And he's getting $150 of your money, of our money. And Johnny X calls it out. So he's a entrepreneur. He's a business owner. All right, Cher, my blood pressure's going up. And of course, Marty Small. When are you going to kick him out?
Me?
All right, Cher.
Me?
Nah, people let him stay in business. So that's all I got to say. That's all I got to do. All right, you got to get going, Cher. You got some real estate to handle?
I have, yes.
All right. It's the Down Beach Buzz podcast. Go to downbeachbuzz.com or reach out to Sherry Lilienfeld. She's all over the place. You can't miss her. Maybe you can work out with her every morning, or maybe you could stop by some kind of vegan destination and share a rice ball with her.
A rice ball.
whatever the hell she eats.
A tofu burger. I don't know. Yes. Keep going. Yeah.
All right. We did 1 hour. So is that enough?
That was a lot for a quickie podcast.
Yeah, but keep in mind, sometimes, it goes ebbs and flows, and the past 20 minutes was good because there was more focus on what we do best.
Get very animated and angry about our.
No, you being all sweet and kind to everybody, and me just saying, you guys stink.
All right.
But you know what? You really do say the same things I do, but you say it with a smile. You're the same way. You're like the velvet glove, the velvet hammer. You're a hammer, but you put the velvet on top of it so it looks all sweet and kind.
No, I try to see both sides. I am the devil's advocate sometimes, because I do try to see the other side, because especially elected officials, their jobs are challenging. I would never want to be one of them.
But you were impressed by what Stone Harbor is doing with their videos and their agendas, right?
Yes, we need to follow suit. 100% agree. There needs to be full transparency. The job wouldn't be so hard if you weren't trying to cover things up too. So anyway, enough with that. All right.
All right.
Time to go. Have a very nice day.
All right. Bye, everybody.